welcome back to part 2 of Amy's podcast. I really encourage you, if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to it. It's a really great conversation, and this part 2 is going to be even better. So stay tuned. When you take being online and how do I say this? The image that you're portraying, and you're talking about being real, which I love, because that's like literally our church, everything I'm about. It's like, just be real, just be honest. People might not like it, but just be honest and open. But when you're putting yourself out there, have you ever had moments where you've had some hate coming back and your identity has been questioned, or where you've been wrestling through your identity and how that affects your mental health side? Because I think this space can be brutal, and I'd love to hear from you, your experience in that.
Yeah, you have to have thick skin. You have to have really thick skin. I think because I worked in mental health, I already had pretty thick skin. Like, I started working in mental health hospitals from 18. So I just think nothing really surprised me, if I'm honest. I'd kind of seen and heard a lot through that. But yeah, when it becomes about you, you could have the strongest mindset when you're giving advice to someone else. But when it's like, oh, they're attacking me and my character, yeah, you can take it personally. And I think I probably do care what people think. And I think when I post and stuff like that, if someone called me out in that way, that was something that I didn't stand for, I didn't want to be perceived as, I think that would get to me. I haven't had anyone really do that. I have had like hate comments. I've had hate comments, so funny enough, I'll explain this one. So I know Sia Khaleesi. We've worked together through Springboks and through his charity, the Khaleesi Foundation. I worked with his wife, Rachel, and now ex-wife, Rachel. And yeah, I worked with their family and their fashion brand, everything like that. So we went to the World Cup, and it was Ireland versus South Africa. And at the end of the game, you know, the players like walk around the pitch. He like walked around the whole pitch and kind of didn't go into the fans or anything. And then I said, oh, see ya, like that. And then he jumped over the fence and come over to see me. And then we had like a hug, and he said hi. And then everyone was like, see ya, and getting photos. And then it was like swamped and he was gone. But I posted that video of him like popping over to see us and then like say hi or whatever. And then everyone was like, who's this blonde bitch? And they were like, you're not welcome in South Africa. Like, you're trying to take him from his wife. And like people were saying like, basically I should be dead and stuff, like death threats. And then other people were commenting like, she does so much work with their charity. Yeah. she like works with his wife. And like, it's not a random person, like they work together and all this stuff. But yeah, that's like the most like of like death threats, hate comments, things like that I've ever had. But because I knew the full story, I just thought it was cool. I was like, it's funny. Like for me, it wasn't like, oh God, what do people think? Or like, I just knew that it was like, they didn't know the full story and that they would look silly when I told people all the stuff I did with them. And then he actually commented like, she does so much work with our charity and stuff like that. Like she doesn't deserve all this hate.
Yeah. So these South Africans, they're the problem, eh? The South Africans are the problem.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. That's only happened with that one video. And yeah, I guess like rugby players mainly are pretty sound people, but like footballers are known to cheat on their wives and you know, they don't have the best rep. And I think some people get threatened if there's like someone's come in and they're like, who is she, what is she doing? And sometimes you kind of get that where they're like, who's this random person on the pitch making content with these people? And it's like they almost feel like you need to have some sort of credibility or like something to be in that room. But I don't really get like imposter syndrome. I'm like, no, I deserve to be here. Quite thick-skinned, and like when people have said stuff in the past, I have like quite dark humor, I'd say, and I find a lot of stuff quite funny. But I know that like if someone said the exact same thing to someone else, they would be quite hurt by it. But for me, I've actually never let it affect me. And And I think actions speak louder than words. Sometimes when people say stuff and I know that I've got like some really amazing stuff coming up, I'm like, it's like a little like drop in the water really when it comes to like things I should put my time and energy into. But I also have learned a lot over the years. I had anxiety and suffered with anxiety severely for like my teenage years and some adult years as well. And I did a lot of therapy and I did a lot of mindset coaching and courses. I had life coaches, and I just think my mindset's quite like I'm quite an internal thinker. Like I try not to let an external things control something I think about myself. And I think maybe because I've gone into like that dark place and had forced myself to learn all this stuff about myself, that when someone says a comment, I'm like, it's bigger. The world's bigger than that. You know what I mean? And your faith and everything as well. Obviously, being Christian, I think you know who you are, who you're designed to be, and you kind of just pretty assured with yourself. Some people might see it as arrogant or whatever, but I think it's a powerful way to be really in that sense, because you are putting your stuff out there for everyone to judge pretty much. But yeah, it's more the judging behind the comments that I probably struggle with most, when people like, so at the beginning, like I mentioned with the rugby team, that probably got to me more than like a stranger saying something on the internet, because when it's someone you almost think like, out of all people, so that's the things that probably would get to me most. Or if like someone close to me said something, then I would probably be more like worried. But everyone's very supportive, and I think I have a very select few group of friends. I've never been someone for a massive friendship group, and like one thing with all my friends are they're brutal and they're honest, and that's like people I pick and choose to be in my life are people that would tell me, Amy, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, or like you shouldn't have said this, or like have you thought of it like that, or like you absolutely did the right thing there. So I need like honesty, and I don't have people in my life that are just gonna give you what you hear. So I think because of that, I have quite a strong system outside that maybe it doesn't affect me so much. But I've seen people be affected by things. And in rugby, you get a lot of nasty comments about people's weight and stuff as well, because a lot of the girls that play are bigger, but like hard to tackle and great rugby players.
Yeah.
But
say your comment when they're tackling you. Yeah.
This is what I said. And I'll tell you one quick story, but there was someone that commented some hate on a rugby video. I can't remember what the comment was. I think it was like women shouldn't play rugby, something silly like that, and or like no one cares about you or something like this. And it turned out in his profile picture on TikTok, he had like a rugby club jersey on. So we got in touch with the rugby club and just said, I think one of your players are online abuse, harassment, whatever you want to call it. And just could you have a word with him? It turned out it was just like a 14-year-old boy who had just been commenting hate on loads of videos and stuff, and towards women's rugby. And they were like, we're going to ban him. We're going to ban him from the sport. And I was like, no, don't ban him from the sport. Just like educate him, because like he probably out of all people needs rugby. I was like, the people that need rugby are people that are challenged in life, and sport in general. You find a lot of people like go to sport because they need that. So I was like, don't ban him from it. So what they did is they made him like come to a women's training session and join in. And it wasn't a humiliation, it was education, to be like, they're strong women, they work hard, they train hard, they play full contact, no different rules. And now you know about women's rugby, will you still make the same comments? And it was like, nope. So
humbled.
I think, I just think parents can monitor better as well on like some kids online, because a lot of the hate comments are coming from really young people. And I'm like, I bet the parents don't even know. And if they did know and saw that, what would they say? So a lot of this, like you said, if it was in person, it would be very different. And it's so true. Like if someone was stood in front of you, they just wouldn't say that. So it is something that TikTok's worse for it, like the monitoring side of things and the safety side of things. I think Instagram's pretty good at like getting rid of comments and stuff like that. So But yeah, that's something that a lot of people talk about now, is like trying to protect their children on social media, because there's pros and cons.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And it's a hard one because I've got 3 daughters
Mm-hmm.
and they're young. And I kind of think, what age would I want to, because I see some
them
kids with
download TikTok.
phones and I just think, man, I just want to, it's almost like you with rugby. It's like we in the game
Mm-hmm.
and it's like doing content creation, all of that. Yet I have that protective father inside where I'm like, I don't want you in the game.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's like the rugby with the daughter playing rugby as well. It's like,
absolutely, yeah.
I almost think when you're in it, you know more than the average person
This
as
is
well.
it.
So
This
maybe
is it.
it's like you're even more cautious of it. But see, a lot of young people create great careers.
I know,
You
and
never
that's the
know,
other
they could
crazy
retire
part. Yeah,
you.
this is it. This is it. And but this one thing that's become close to landing is with anxiety. Do you feel you've conquered it now?
Question. I like that. No, I don't think I've conquered anxiety. I think like you'll never conquer an emotion. I think emotions are powerful. Anxiety is really good for you as well in lots of ways. But I think I have stopped it from letting me get out of control. And I think that's the thing that I've learned, is that it's not a harmful thing, and anxiety is needed when you're about to go and like perform or interview someone or present on pitch side or whatever, or and I think anxiety a lot of the time is because you care about something, and you're kind of like, you care about the outcome, what might happen, and for me, my issues, I'd say, were more like anticipationary anxiety, so waiting for something to happen. Like, I'm really good in the moment. Like, sit me in front of cameras. Like when I was at my worst, I presented in front of 80,000 people at Twickenham and didn't struggle. But as soon as I put that mic down, I was like, get me home. I can't cope. And it's like, in the moment I can be fine. But like leading up to things, I can just break. Like it's really, really hard. So I've learned a lot, and this whole mindset I've learned around like internal and external factors has really helped me, because a lot of people just sort of say, this is the way I am, this is happening to me, and actually it's like, if you think of it, for example, like you're on a plane and you're scared of flying, you think the plane's going down, you're having a panic attack, but next to you is like a little child on an iPad watching Peppa Pig. We're on the same flight, we're having the same experience, we're on the same journey, but we're having 2 different experiences. And I think you can choose, almost like you're powerful in the way that you think, and I think you can choose, what experience am I going to let myself have. Am I going to just be like, well, there's only one way to this place. You can choose to worry, or you can choose to just ride it and get there. And a lot of the time I try now to just say, what's the point in worrying if it's not even happened yet? And yeah, I find it fluctuates. Like if I'm in a good place and things are working out, like you can think straight like that. But then if I'm feeling like there's lots of different things going wrong at once, so you're not exactly in this like powerful mindset to bring yourself out of it. But yeah, I think it's just knowing, like, some days are a bit of a write-off. Sometimes it's just like, oh, that was a bad day, but we move on, and the next day I'm not going to let it linger. And yeah, like the weird one, because I think no one enjoys being anxious, but I think people like dwell in their sorrow too much, and they're a little bit like, I've got anxiety, I suffer with anxiety, and I'm like, you experience anxiety from time to time, but that's not who you are, and it's not like your personality. But people like to make things a personality, because I think they like to attach a label, because in their head they think that is an answer to what I'm feeling. And the whole reason you're feeling like that is because you probably don't have the answer, or are out of control. So I think it's a control thing for a lot of people as well, to kind of identify as this sort of person. And someone once said to me, like, you've got to get a fire in your belly and just go like, I don't want to live like this, thanks. Like, I'm good. I'm going to choose to do something else. And yeah, almost when I stopped dwelling in it and stopped sort of just being like, oh, how am I going to feel if I do that? I just kind of forgot, and then just carried on doing things. And then everything that you do that would have been challenging is all evidence that you can do those things. So I used to like not be able to get on the train and go to London, or not be able to go on a tube or anything like that. And I'm in London like all the time on tubes at the moment, and I'm on the phone and I'm doing this on my laptop. I'm not even thinking about the fact I'm doing it. And it's because I've just built up evidence over time that nothing bad's going to happen to me if I do that thing. So yeah, I think you've got to try things to give yourself evidence as well. You can't just wait for stuff to happen. But yeah. So I think I've learned a lot over the years and had some great people give good advice and life coaches and things like that. And yeah, it's something that I think once you're aware of, you don't, you never like get rid of it. And there's times where I'm definitely like, oh, just having a really weird, anxious day today. But I kind of don't let it fester on for too much longer than that. Yeah.
Out of interest, and the reason I want to talk on this is because, interestingly, with a lot of, I put you as a type A personality.
Yes,
I mean, it's
I think
quite,
so.
yeah, is people who are driven, who are pushing things forward, and that their mental health kind of gets put in the background, and people look at them and mistake the success, the doing, all of that. And a lot of the time, what I've found, the more and more I talk to people, is that can sometimes be like a covering / a positive expression of, moving forward and that. But the people that don't deal with these inner things, it will destroy their world in a whole big way. And, functional anxiety, people with, I had a friend who had severe OCD, and not like the type where you go and do the same thing 3 to 4 times. But none of us picked it up, because it was just like they could just function at a high level and they're going, and then they crashed. And when I was talking through with them, it was just so hard because it just crippled them and stopped them from getting up and going again.
Yeah.
Now, out of all the advice you received at the time, it sounds like from school days, it sounds like you didn't like school as well at all. So I don't know, would you say there were contributing factors there?
That's where it all started. That's where all the mental health stuff really started with me, because I got bullied really badly. I was in like a big girl friendship group. I was always super unpopular, and then I got into this popular group of girls all of a sudden. I got rid of my glasses basically. And then they wanted to be my friend. And yeah, basically had a big friendship group of girls, but I never felt like I fitted in. And like, also I was a Christian at the time as well, and people used to kind of like bully me for that. And just, yeah, I guess I was just different. I am different from them. And now I think that's such a weird thing that I was trying to just fit in all the time. But yeah, they were like girls when they bully are very different to boys. It's like premeditated and like it's planned, and it's really like quite brutal. Yeah. They like hacked into my MSN at the time. MSN throwback.
Are we the same generation? I'm trying to work out.
I'm 30 this year.
Okay, 34.
So, yeah, so yeah, MSN era.
We're the 90s.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, 90s babies.
These youngsters don't understand what we went through. No.
MSN, yeah. We had iToy. Do you remember iToy? Did you ever have that?
It didn't make it across to Africa, unfortunately. We just struggled. We didn't have electricity. The
candles out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they literally hacked into my MSN, which was just like a WhatsApp sort of platform at the time. And they messaged everyone in the school, including themselves, to make it look like it wasn't them, and said all this like really nasty, hateful stuff. And then I didn't even know that they hacked into it. But I went to school the next day, and then they came up to me like, why did you say that online? And they literally were like hitting me, pulling my hair and like fighting me.
The people that
actually hacked it. And then loads of people fell out of me basically then. And my sister was a couple years older than me and was a bit of a lifesaver because I just hung out with her at school. But then I got bullied for hanging out with my sister. So yeah, kids can be really, really brutal. But then we went off for the 6 weeks holiday, and then we were going to move up to the big school. But obviously the last experience I had at my middle school was this trauma of all this stuff. So I went off for 6 weeks, and then I knew I had to go into this big school with all these girls again, and then there's going to be other people from other schools, and what have they told them about me that's not true, and all this stuff. So for 6 weeks I didn't leave the house at all. My mum was like, I don't know what to do with you. My mum and dad actually say now, like, it was the most stressful time. So my mum and dad, they said they've had 2 kids, my sister and brother, with severe heart conditions, and I was still the most stressful child.
You had to make up for it.
Yeah,
You know?
well, this is the thing, you had to do it. So yeah, and then I remember my mum was like, right, let's get the bus and let's go to Hemel and we'll go shopping for the day. And I was just so anxious. And then we went to town to get on the bus, and I saw one of the girls, and I just had a panic attack. I was like, take me home, take me home, take me home. And then I just went home. I didn't go out for the 6 weeks. And then I was quite sad, really. I was like suicidal at that point. So I was like, didn't want to be there, just couldn't face the thought of going into school and seeing all these people and moving into this bigger school and stuff. So I got put on antidepressants from like a young age. And then I went into school and did all that, and I just stayed with my sister pretty much the whole time. And then a year or 2 into the bigger school, I made a friend, and she's still my best friend now. And we go to church together and everything, but she wasn't a Christian, and then she come to church with me, and now she teaches me things about everything. And like, yeah, we're each other's bridesmaids, and she's now having a baby, and like, it's just amazing. Like, she was really like a godsend for me. And like, really different people. She's the most quiet, calm person, and I'm me. And we just become best friends, and that really got me through school. But I didn't stop taking antidepressants until I was like maybe 21, 22. And I went on like higher doses and stuff like that, because back in like 17, 18 years old, I also got suicidal again. And it was sad, but I tried to like drive off the road. And yeah, basically ended up breaking down to my parents and stuff like that. And then we sort of just was like, something needs to happen, something needs to change. So then I went into therapy. And yeah, I think like my faith obviously massively helped, and people around me, and then having therapy, and I slowly then came off my medication, and yeah, got into work, and that was my massive driver. And rugby then came around at the perfect time. And that's kind of when I picked up rugby. And the reason I worked in mental health hospitals was because of all of that.
What you went through.
So yeah, and then I was like, I need to help other people. So then I went on to do that in the hospitals. And then, then I got into rugby. So I stopped playing rugby within that period of time. And a lady at the mental health hospital played and invited me to a session, and that's how I got back into it. So it's so weird all this time in, and you think it was obviously meant to be that I was like, it's weird because I went through such a horrible time in mental health, but then all the things I managed to help people with in the hospital, you think, oh, that was so worth all that knowledge that I had. And you also think, what I experienced was nowhere near what these people are experiencing, Some of them have like schizophrenia, psychosis, and like all this trauma from when they were younger. And I think I've actually had like a really lovely life. I've struggled, but it doesn't make what you've gone through irrelevant, but it just puts things into perspective to make you think, okay, like, yeah, there's a light at the end of the tunnel if these people can get through it as well. So yeah, it's been up and down, but like, I do think it teaches you a lot about yourself. And then, yeah, you put that into, yes, always wanting to improve and get better. And you kind of get like into working on yourself, I guess. Yeah,
it's incredible, and thank you, Amy, for sharing that, because again, if that's the one piece that saves someone's life,
exactly,
it's worth it. And because I've been very open, with people in terms of especially men getting counseling, encouraging them in it.
Oh yeah.
But when you turn your pain for a purpose, something amazing happens. And it sounds like your faith has been pivotal in that, because I've seen people, and we both of this, we follow Jesus. I see people either getting stuck in the victim kind of place, where why is this all happening to me? People like yourself who's like, okay, I don't want this to happen, but it's not happening to me, it's happening for me in a weird way. Like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to make the devil pay. That's always the phrase I use.
Yeah.
Because I remember going through an incredible, difficult time, and I just said, the devil has to pay for this,
Mm.
you know, and we're going to make him pay. But, you know, for people that are stuck in that cycle, that loop, you know, because
Yeah.
when you're talking
in
here,
it,
it's like
yeah.
there, but when you're in that depressive state, that
Mhm.
anxiety state, was there a moment or was there a thing where your therapist, your community around you, that someone said to you that shifted it for you, that you can remember?
Yeah, it was the fact that I thought it was happening to me, and I thought it was the
Mm.
way I was wired, and it was just the way I was going to always have to be, and that I was just going to be someone that had to take medication because I thought that this chemical imbalance in the brain was a thing, but it's not a thing. Like, I think it's like a thing people use to say, oh, I'm just not chemically wired in that way. And I'm like, that's not true. Like, you weren't born like that. There's no reason why you need to say that that is just the way you are. And there are things that maybe make you more sensitive to stuff, like with the ADHD and things like that. I do think there's this chaotic side of life like you're living in that maybe makes things harder, or you make things harder for yourself. But yeah, I think the thing that people said to me is that you haven't got depression, someone said to me, and I was like really angry. I was like, I do have depression because I'm on tablets for it. If I didn't want it, I wouldn't have it. And he goes, well, don't have it then. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm not choosing to have this. And he was like, you are. It's a choice. And I was like, angry, and I left the room, and I didn't want to speak to him. And I was like, he doesn't understand mental health, clearly. And then he come back another time. So this was actually a manager I worked with. He was a life coach, but a manager at the care home that I worked with people with dementia. He literally changed my life. Yeah, he's incredible. But I was so angry when he said that. You haven't got depression. You're choosing to have depression. And I was like, what are you on about? And then I went back in, and he goes like, you said if I didn't want this, I wouldn't have it. And he was like, you know that is an option. And he goes, I'm not trying to invalidate what you're going through, but what's happening is an experience. It's not you. It doesn't define you. It's something you are feeling, but feelings don't last. They come and they go, but it might just feel like you're having the same feeling for a long time. He was like, you can choose to have a different feeling. And I think it was just a bit of a shock factor for me to be like, who is this guy telling me this? But then on the other side being like, well, he's not wrong, you know? And then when I looked into it all more, it was just like learning that, like, yeah, you know, it's the external internal thing. And I think that sort of thing really clicked for me, was that stop blaming everything else on why you're feeling the way you feel. It's like when people say, I hate my job, I feel stuck. Like, oh, I don't have enough money to do this. And I'm like, okay, so you're never stuck. You're never fully stuck in a situation. It's not an easy decision, but you can change your situation. But that might mean like doing something big and scary, or leaving a relationship, or it might mean like quitting a job without not sure what you're going to do next. But for me, the most breakthrough and the things that have happened, that have been the best things that have happened to me, have happened when unexpected things change. Like, you know, you lose your job, but then you start a business but you would have never started that business if someone didn't say, oh, you've not got a job. Or something happens in your relationship, and then you break up with that person, you think it's the end of the world, and then you look back and think, oh, that wasn't my person. Like, I'm so glad that happened, and I would never have met Rob, and I would have. So you think all these things have like trickle effects, and yeah, and I think sometimes, like the life coach said to me as well, like, sometimes get up and just shake and dance, or go outside or shout something out. She was like, do something to shock your mind, to be like, I've got free will, actually. I'm actually, instead of this, I'm going to do that. And she's like, sometimes you have to just like mess with your mind and just say, okay, I'm going to choose to do this today. Yeah. And just testing yourself out with the free will stuff's really, really fun, you know?
Wait, the funny part though for on free will is, I think people, and I've had this dilemma, especially counseling with a lot of people in Gen Z or younger, is that people love the idea of free will until there's personal responsibility.
Exactly.
And then suddenly it's God's fault, or the way they were made, or whatever. And I think that's the most disempowering state you can put yourself in, because Tony Robbins talks a lot about it in terms of ice baths, love doing them, an ice shower, whatever it is, because it's telling your brain, no, I'm doing this. I don't want to do this, but we're in control here.
Yeah.
We're taking our choice back. And I found the hardest thing is when someone's in that state, you go shift the state before you can have anything. But then people are normally angry with you for a while.
Yes.
And it sounds like you went through that anger phase and it worked out all right. But I always say to people when I tell them the truth, I'm like, hey, why do you think I'm telling you this? Do you think I want to risk our friendship, risk all of this? But I will be that friend that will tell you the truth. It sounds like you got those people around you too, because I love you. Like there's no other reason to do it. There's no benefit other than pure love.
If you didn't care, you literally wouldn't have given your opinion on it.
Absolutely. And you'd go tell everyone else behind their back, because that's the kind of culture we're in, rather than being around people that actually love you enough to speak truth and see you in the freedom, because the truth sets you free. And yeah, I think it's amazing. And I do hope, we've lost friends to suicide and all of that. And I think it's never worth it. And I'm hoping we can change that, because it sounds like you've done the hard work.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to see, because to be honest with you, I don't hear of that enough.
Yeah.
Where people have gone and done the work and they're actually in a difference, like, hey, yeah, this thing could still, come up and pop its head up, but I actually know what I'm doing and I know how to process it healthily.
Yeah. I always say, like, don't wait to get help when you are in crisis and you really need it.
Good.
Because I can actually retain information right now because I'm in a good headspace. If I go to therapy and I'm like on a high dose of medication, I just want to be somewhere else. I'm just thinking about not being here. Even someone talking to you, just not hearing it, it's not going in, or you hear bits but you don't take it in and you don't feel like you can go away and practice anything because you've got no energy. So I have therapy now, or life coaching, and I speak to them now because I can retain this information and I can apply it so that I don't have to dip back into like a bad place. So like it's training your mental health, like you train your physical health, like you go to rugby training to get selected for a game or get better at rugby. It's like you have to train your mind as well and look after your mental health when you're in a good place. And I think I get why people just kind of don't want to hear it when they're in a bad place, because it's really hard, because your brain's loud and what's going on in your head's just overriding everything. I've literally had it before where people are talking to me and it's like I'm on my own in a room. I'm like, I don't even hear them. And then times like now where I can speak and be like, oh, that's so good. Like if I ever feel like I'm getting to that place, I'm going to remember that. So it's all about, like you said, anxiety doesn't go, or the feeling sad or down doesn't go, or sometimes you don't want to be here still. Like you have days like that, but I think it's just reminding yourself like you're not going to stay there or let yourself like rest in that place. It's like coming out and just, every day can't be amazing as well. So you do need those places to grow. But I always just say, look after yourself when you're feeling good.
Yeah. There's a saying in business, raise money when you don't need it.
Oh.
And I think it's so true, because when you need it, you look desperate.
That's so
and
true.
There's something about, being prepared for the season ahead of you. And I think, I mean, we could keep going here, but there's, just on your faith, I just want to, ask you there, is you believe in God?
Yes.
Why?
I got brought up Christian, but I would say I became a Christian at 17. And by that is like, no one could convince me God's not real at that point. So I think maybe growing up, it was like, well, being told to do this, being told to go to church, and I know all the songs and all the words to all the songs. My dad led worship. I'd lead worship with my dad from a young age.
I'm just picturing your dad in Ibiza. You doing those dance, so I'm struggling to
just think Ibiza meets Gyra, Maverick City.
Come on.
This is the vibe.
Yeah.
But so I got brought up in that world. And I would say like my parents were not strict, but like expected me to engage in that world where sometimes I didn't want to, and I wanted to just do things that kids do and go out and about and go and party and all of this. But yeah, I'd say the moment, obviously we spoke about when I felt suicidal and I swerved to try and go off the road. I swear on my hand on my heart, I felt God in that moment. Oh, I get emotional, sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, in that moment, I just felt God was in the car with me, and I just knew, I was like, no one could convince me that he's not real, and I should have crashed. I didn't, and the tires went, and I was like, I was fine. But I was just like, I knew in that moment that like that was a bit of a breakthrough where I never try and convince people to become a Christian. I'm like not that kind of person, but no one can convince me of my experience, and I always like live by that, is that if you've experienced something and you know that that's true, like no one can, there's no other story. Like that is the story, that's the fact. So that is something I'll always hold with me. And when I doubt things and I question things, I just think back to that car, and I can't doubt it when I think back there. You know, and people ask me questions, and there's things with the faith that I'm like, oh, do I agree with this? Do I agree with that? But I know God's real, and that's all I know. And that's something I can really just hone in on, is that happened and that was real for me. And my family as well. My brother and sister were born with heart conditions. My mum was told to terminate my sister when she was pregnant, and she was missing an artery on the scan. And then when she was born, she was alive and well. And my sister and brother have had 9 heart surgeries, and they weren't meant to live past certain ages, and my brother wasn't meant to speak, and all this stuff. And as a family, we've been through so much where you can't say like God wasn't in our lives. And I think, yeah, he just shows up again and again. Like there's things that try to touch our family, like my mum got breast cancer, and she got through it, and you know, went through the other side, and the whole time she was like, God's got this, I'm fine, God's got this, I'm not even worried. She's like, I've been through enough with Jenny and Daryl to know that like nothing bad's going to happen. And I think being in a family with such a strong faith that things are going to try and shake us, but they're not going to shake us. And I think yeah, I know I haven't physically had that, or what my mum's had, or my sister and my brother, but for me mine's always been like a mental challenge. And that was like showed up in a physical way that day. Yeah. So, and then that's how like my best friend came to God as well. And it was just nice that, again, there's lots of things in my life that happen, and I just know that was God in that moment. There's things that happened in the mental health hospital where I was in a room in perfect time when someone was trying to like commit suicide and things like that. I've unclipped people from ceilings and all this kind of stuff, and like there's been minutes in this stuff where I know that if I wasn't there, that wouldn't have happened. And there was like a whole year where things kept happening, like, and I would just be in situations of crisis or emergency, and I was able to help. And it was like my mum was like, there's something about you where you're like, in an emergency I just switch on, like I'm there, and I'm like, you do this, you do that, I'm doing this. And like people freeze, I'm like fight or flight. And yeah, there's so many things that have happened over the years. But again, like I'm not quoting a scripture, I'm not like just telling a story. They're like just things I've experienced, and there's nothing you can really say to knock someone's experience. So that's been a huge factor for me in my family as well, really.
It's incredible, because I think as C.S. Lewis said, if you argue someone into the faith, they can be argued out of the faith. But when you look at people's lives and the reality of Jesus in someone's life, you can't argue with that.
No.
You know, and I have multiple people of different faiths on here, but I always just say like that experience, like it's real. You know, and as you said it, I'm like, flip, don't cry, Dylan, don't cry. Because that's the thing. It's like because it's just, you look back and you think, God, where would I be without you? You know, and you're, you know, it's just, it's crazy. And it gets you through it. In business, I always say to people like, hey, this faith is not just for Sunday. It's for every day of the week. And it affects everything, you know, that you do, the way you treat people. You know, we apply the Bible in the way we do our business relationships.
Yeah.
And it works, which is
Exactly.
the awesome part. So,
Yeah.
Amy, last question to you, because we have gone a long time.
It's been
so good. Is Mo Gaudat, I've never done this one before. He talks about the eraser test.
Okay.
Where you're given an eraser, you can erase any part of your life, but if you do that, all the consequences from that moment you erase will also be removed. Would you erase anything, and why?
Wow. Instantly you go back to school and all this stuff and you think, get rid. But it has literally trickled into everything I've done in my life. Yeah, it's really hard to say if there's anything. Like, when you first say that, you think, oh, I bet there's a list. But then the fact that all the things that happened as a result of that would then go just means that none of it could go, like none of it could go, because all these things, they do bring you to where you are now. And I think that's important. And I'm a believer in, like, you need the bad times. You need the rough times. And if life's too good as well, like, when have you ever had to challenge yourself to grow or to move situations, or like, work hard because you've run out of money or whatever it might be? It's like, I guess I sometimes feel like I can't relate to some people who've had like a really easy ride or been brought up with a lot of money or stuff like that. Like, as a family, my mum worked at a petrol station and she used to bring home the pastries because that's all she could afford. And it was just stuff that was like going out of date and stuff. So we never had money. And I just think I do sometimes feel there's a disconnect with some people that have just kind of had things given to them. And I think there's something about working for stuff that makes you appreciate things a lot more. And I would say I've worked like very hard for a lot of this stuff to come through. And maybe that's, again, not what people see when they just click on your channel and they just judge you quickly. But yeah, there's always a story behind stuff. And I like to also think like that around other people. And I think, what's their story and how have they got to that situation? And I'm sure things haven't been easy for everyone as well. So I can't erase it.
So interesting, because when I've had that chat, I've never done it on camera with someone. Not one person I know has wanted to remove something. And it's so interesting because initially I thought, if there's anything, it's going to be the bullying moment. But then when you look at the repercussions, and I look back on my life and some really tough times, and I thought, I can't because would I have met my wife? Would I, be the man I'm proud to be today if it weren't for that? And you look back and you think, wow, and that's where when you're going through the pain, to look back and say, oh wait, I wouldn't erase the pain of my past. So the pain of the present, there must be something bigger with the right mindset.
Yes.
And I think that's where people get stuck. So I think your story is inspiring. I think it's been absolutely amazing, just hearing it and getting to know. I'm looking forward to getting to know you more. And I'm sure we'll be friends into the future. And I just encourage anyone watching this to follow you where, we'll put all your links around and all of that, and their lives will be better. So
more so than following, hopefully they get something out of this conversation and they can just take it away. Also I'm here if people want to message and ask stuff, because sometimes if you relate to something someone said and it's like they're the person that's gone through it, like I'm very open. I speak to a lot of people about stuff and in that way. So hopefully it helps someone along the way. And anyone else that's chaotic, that has about 10 side hustles, I'm sure sure they'll relate.
Absolutely. And I do encourage anyone, if you are suicidal, if you have struggling with anxiety, anything like that, please reach out to us. We'll put you in touch, whoever it is. Just don't suffer alone, because it's not worth it. But Amy, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you, and look forward to the next one.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so good.